Welcome to The Debate. When you watch a chaotic scramble in the penalty box, 22 players just converging, mud flying everywhere, the roar of the crowd is completely drowning out the referee's whistle.
Yeah, it's just raw human drama.
Exactly. A total mess of limbs and instinct. But if you look at that exact same penalty box scramble through the lens of modern technology, the chaos entirely vanishes. You are actually looking at a perfectly legible mathematical equation.
Well, you're looking at pure geometry, velocity vectors, spatial mapping, and probability matrices. The mud and the emotion are completely stripped away, leaving only computational data.
Right, and that is the reality of modern football, especially at the highest levels like the World Cup. The sport has quietly undergone this massive technological revolution. We are no longer just watching players and a ball.
No, we really aren't. We're watching the pervasive integration of artificial intelligence and big data into the very fabric of the game.
Exactly. So today we are examining this invisible algorithmic framework. And I firmly believe that AI and data analytics fundamentally elevate football by uncovering hidden tactical advantages and amplifying human potential on the pitch.
And, I come at it from a totally different way. I argue that the unchecked reliance on this technology threatens the sport by widening financial inequalities between clubs and introducing algorithmic biases that mathematically distort the game.
To really grasp the implications here, we have to move past the idea of a coach sitting on the sidelines with a stopwatch. Modern stadiums are highly calibrated laboratories now.
Oh, absolutely. The scale is wild.
It is. We're talking about dozens of dedicated tracking cameras positioned around the roof, capturing position, speed, and acceleration 50 times a second. We have tracking nodes on the players. We even have sensors suspended perfectly inside the center of the match ball itself.
The sheer volume of it is staggering, really. You're generating millions of discrete data points in a single 90-minute match.
Yeah, but capturing data is the easy part. The actual revolution is the processing. For years, the big problem was reconciling different types of data. You have optical data from the cameras mapping the skeletons of the players, and then you have telemetry data coming from the ball.
Right. And how do you merge them smoothly?
Exactly. Inside the modern World Cup match ball, there is an inertial measurement unit, or IMU. It is measuring acceleration and rotation at 500 times a second. That is 500 hertz. Meanwhile, the stadium cameras are capturing video at 50 frames per second.
Which are vastly different timescales.
They are. So machine learning algorithms act as the bridge. They ingest that high-frequency sensor data from the ball and sync it perfectly with the optical tracking of the players' skeletons. The AI constructs a meticulously detailed three-dimensional timeline of the game that a human being could just never process in real time.
I'll admit it is a phenomenal engineering achievement. But integrating those data sets is incredibly messy in practice.
How so?
Well, you have optical data that is subject to severe occlusion. Players block the camera's view of each other constantly, especially during set pieces. And you have sensor data subject to drift. The AI is constantly trying to guess where a player's foot is when a cluster of bodies obscures the lens.
So when academy directors are trying to explain spatial mapping and data collection to, say, 14-year-old youth players, they use a really specific mental model.
Oh, the digital tracks analogy?
Yeah, exactly. They tell the kids to imagine leaving tiny digital tracks in the grass every single time they step onto the pitch. Everywhere they run, every time they sprint, stop, or pivot, they leave a permanent digital trail.
Right.
And the AI basically acts as a storyteller. It takes those thousands of overlapping tracks and highlights the patterns so the coaches can actually read them.
Look, it's a neat teaching tool for academy kids. I get that. But as a technical framework, it kind of masks the flaws of the system. Garbage in, garbage out is the oldest law in computer science.
But the data isn't garbage.
If those digital tracks the 14-year-old is leaving are broken because the optical tracking was occluded, the AI isn't telling a story, it is interpolating. It's guessing based on incomplete parameters. If the data is poor, the subsequent tactical analysis is inherently flawed.
But it isn't just blindly guessing. It is calculating probabilistic certainty. The tracking algorithms cross-reference up to 12 different camera angles simultaneously.
Sure, but
Wait, let me finish. If camera A loses sight of a winger's left foot, camera G and camera J compensate in milliseconds. The sheer volume of the data corrects for those minor anomalies. And the way the AI learns to interpret these tracks is through massive repetition.
like training any neural network.
Right. You teach an AI to recognize a defensive vulnerability the same way you teach it to recognize a goal celebration. You don't write a hard rule. You feed the neural network thousands of video hours of defensive structures collapsing until it learns to identify the structural precursors on its own.
Okay, let's assume that data capture is completely flawless, which is a stretch, but let's go with it. The interpretation of that data is where the system becomes highly reductive.
Reductive? How?
Football is a continuous, fluid invasion game. It is not discrete like baseball, where every pitch is an isolated event. If a model looks at those digital tracks and calculates that a center midfielder covers less ground than anyone else on the pitch, the raw algorithmic conclusion is often that the player has a low work rate.
Well, no modern analyst would stop there.
But the human context might be that this specific player has elite positional awareness. They simply don't need to run as much because they're already standing in the correct passing lane. The AI provides a metric, sure, but it strips the context.
Oh, come on. We are way beyond basic distance metrics. Coaches are not just looking at total distance covered to judge a player's work rate anymore. They are utilizing AI to generate real-time Voronoi diagrams.
Which look fantastic on a tactical tablet, I'll give you that. But we really need to ask if they actually change the game.
They absolutely change the game because they calculate spatial control dynamically. A traditional heat map just shows you where a player was. It's historical. A Voronoi diagram powered by AI calculates where a player could be.
Because it factors in speed and direction.
Exactly. It looks at the velocity, the vector, and the momentum of every single player on the pitch. It determines exactly which team controls every square inch of the grass at any given millisecond. The polygons shift like a living organism. It gives a manager a mathematical visualization of pitch control.
I don't deny that pitch control analysis is fascinating, but does knowing the exact mathematical polygon fundamentally change the tactic? Or does it just confirm what an elite manager already intuitively sees from the technical area?
No, it actually reveals micro patterns the human eye literally cannot process.
Like what?
Well, a manager might see that an opposition fullback is struggling, but the algorithm detects that the fullback's crossing accuracy drops by exactly 14% when forced onto their weaker foot under a specific pressing angle in the middle third of the pitch.
Okay, that's a very specific tactical advantage.
And an opposition scout watching film might miss that entirely because they're distracted by the overall flow of the play. The algorithm never gets distracted. It spots the connective tissue. Through passing networks, the AI identifies the actual hub of a team, the player whose passes most frequently break defensive lines, rather than just the player who registers the most touches.
But you are describing a scenario where the mathematical model starts dictating the action. This is the danger of overdependence on analytics.
I don't see it as a danger.
When coaches rely heavily on these algorithmic models to dictate pressing triggers or crossing zones, they really risk overriding the elite instinct of the players.
They are optimizing the instinct, not overriding it. Data measures output, and optimizing output wins matches.
Data cannot measure intuition, though. It cannot quantify the weight of a rivalry game or team chemistry or the sheer force of will a captain exerts when the team is down by a goal with 10 minutes left.
You're romanticizing it.
I'm being realistic about human psychology. If a winger sees a brilliant, unorthodox opening, but hesitates because the pre-match algorithmic briefing drilled into him that crossing from this specific zone only yields a 2% expected goal probability, that hesitation destroys the play.
But they are professionals.
You are asking athletes to prioritize a predetermined algorithmic script over the very instinct that makes them world-class. A purely algorithmic approach attempts to domesticate a sport that thrives entirely on unpredictability.
It doesn't domesticate the game. It provides a baseline of probabilistic truth. The player still executes the cross. The AI just ensures the team adopts a tactical shape that puts the player in the optimal position to do so.
I still think it breeds hesitation.
Maybe at first, but this optimization extends far beyond passing angles. Look at the medical applications. Medical teams use historical movement data to flag injury risks before they even happen.
By tracking biometric output, right?
By tracking biomechanical deviations, specifically. The skeletal tracking isn't just looking at where a player is, it's looking at how their joints are actually moving. By comparing a center back's current movement data with their historical baseline, the AI can detect a 2-degree shift in their gait pattern late in the second half.
Which implies fatigue or injury.
Exactly. That tiny asymmetrical shift in running load indicates a micro tear forming in the hamstring. The AI alerts the medical staff, they pull the player, and they prevent a massive season-ending injury before the human doctor or even the player themselves realizes something is wrong.
And frankly, that is an incredible medical advancement. I won't argue that. But that exact tactical and medical edge you are praising is why the systemic impact of this technology is so dangerous.
Dangerous? How is preventing injuries dangerous?
We have to look at the structural consequences. This level of optimization is an economic arms race. The technology gap between the rich and the poor is turning into a massive chasm. The risks of financial inequality are huge here.
Football has always had wealthy clubs and poorer clubs. Financial disparity existed long before machine learning.
It existed, sure, but big data acts as an aggressive exponential multiplier. When a wealthy club can buy these advanced optical tracking systems, install them in their training grounds, and hire entire departments of data scientists to optimize physical and tactical preparation, the smaller clubs don't just fall a little behind.
They still play the same game.
They become mathematically obsolete. The rich teams completely monopolize the insights. But honestly, even more concerning than the financial disparity is the biometric privacy issue.
Wait. The biometric data is collected to protect the athletes, as I just explained with the hamstring prevention.
But under current labor structures, who actually owns that sensitive data? We are talking about tracking a human being's physiological workload, their heart rate variability, their joint degradation.
It's all internal club data.
Exactly. If a club's AI predicts that a 24-year-old player is statistically likely to develop chronic knee issues in 3 years, based on those biomechanical tracks, what stops the club from using that prediction to devalue the player in contract negotiations today?
The clubs are investing in the player's longevity. You're being incredibly cynical.
They are protecting their assets. What stops a club from selling that predictive biometric profile to a buying club? We are treating human athletes as data-producing engines. Right now, there is a terrifying lack of regulation regarding who controls this deeply personal biological information.
That sounds like a legal issue, not a tech issue.
It's both. Are we subject to medical privacy laws, or is this considered workplace performance data? The legal gray area is massive.
I understand the concern, I really do, but you are looking at the technology as an inherently antagonistic force, like it's a weapon used by management against players or rich clubs against poor clubs. I view the technology purely as an efficiency engine.
An efficiency engine that lacks oversight.
It is a tool that speeds up processes that already exist. Look at how AI has transformed refereeing. Video Assistant Referee, or VAR, systems used to be agonizingly slow. We had human operators manually scrubbing video footage frame by frame to find exact millisecond a pass was played to judge an offside.
Yeah, and the fans hated the delays.
Now, AI does it instantly. By syncing the 500 Hz sensor in the ball with the skeletal tracking of the players, the AI automatically flags the exact frame of contact and draws the offside lines in 3 seconds instead of 3 minutes. It minimizes human error. It is just a tool.
But the speed and the scale are exactly what make it dangerous without regulation.
And regarding your concerns about biometric privacy and the technology gap, those are institutional challenges. They are not technological flaws.
There are institutional challenges created entirely by the advent of this technology. You cannot separate the tool from the economy it exists in.
But they can be solved institutionally. Governing bodies have the power to impose standardized data sharing rules. If a league mandates that baseline physical and tactical tracking data must be pooled and shared openly across all teams in the competition, you immediately level the playing field.
That's a big if.
But it shrinks the technology gap. You pair that with strict labor protection clauses that grant players ultimate ownership of their biometric profiles, ensuring the data can only be used for direct medical care and tactical development, not for contract leverage. Under a forward-thinking framework, the industry can protect privacy while promoting fair competition.
That relies on a highly optimistic, bordering on naive view of football governance.
Oh, come on. It's totally feasible.
Historically, football institutions do not prioritize leveling the playing field. If the wealthy clubs generate the most granular data, they will fight tooth and nail to keep it proprietary. But even if we assume you solve the data sharing issue, even if every club has access to the exact same data, you run right back into algorithmic bias.
Algorithmic bias. How does sharing data create bias?
Because the standardized data still has to be analyzed by machine learning models, and those models are trained on specific historical data sets. Currently, the most advanced models are trained heavily on elite European leagues. The Premier League, La Liga, the Champions League.
Right, the top tier.
They mathematically internalize the pacing, the pressing triggers, and the tactical structures of those specific competitions.
Well, yeah, they learn what optimal football looked like at the highest level.
They learn what optimal European football looks like. If you take an algorithm trained on Pep Guardiola's Manchester City and use it to evaluate a low-block, highly physical counterattacking team in the South American Copa Libertadores, the model is going to flag the South American tactics as mathematically suboptimal.
Because it plays out differently statistically.
Exactly. It penalizes styles it hasn't seen. The AI is judging a diverse, global game through a strictly European, well-funded lens. The homogenization of football strategy is a real threat here. If every team in the world is using the exact same AI, telling them the exact same optimal way to play, the beautiful game becomes a sterile, predictable simulation. We completely lose the clash of styles.
It never becomes a sterile simulation because you can never mathematically simulate the execution.
Explain that.
The model can map the Voronoi polygons, right? It can tell a fullback exactly where to stand to maximize pitch control. But that fullback still has to perfectly volley a ball dropping out of the sky at 60 miles an hour while being heavily marked by a defender.
Which brings us right back to the human element. The execution is the one variable the algorithms constantly struggle to quantify.
Exactly, and I think that highlights the core of our discussion perfectly. My position remains that AI and data analytics make football more deeply studied and strategically profound. From the integration of IMU ball sensors and skeletal tracking to the Voronoi diagrams that give coaches unprecedented spatial awareness, the technology is an amplifier.
You see it as an enhancement.
Always. It takes human decision-making, whether it is a medical professional spotting a microscopic gate shift or a referee reviewing a critical offside, and arms it with empirical clarity. It does not replace the human mind. It simply gives it better information to act upon.
And my stance is that while the empirical clarity is powerful, without aggressive labor regulations and data protections, we risk turning a game of passion into a cold calculation.
Even with the human element?
Especially then, financial supremacy in data departments is actively outweighing actual sporting merit on the pitch. We are reducing athletes to biometric data points and threatening the unpredictable, stylistic diversity of the sport with algorithmic homogenization. If we optimize every single action, we just strip away the art of the game.
Yet despite our disagreement on these structural and financial outcomes, we clearly converge on one fundamental truth. No matter how advanced the tracking cameras become, or how many millions of match scenarios a neural network simulates in a server room, the core of football remains unchanged.
Yeah, the technology can map the pitch, but it cannot play the match. The skill, the emotion, the sudden flash of brilliance that totally defies the expected goal probability, that relies entirely on the human beings out there on the grass. You just cannot quantify a player's heart under the pressure of a World Cup final.
There is still so much unfolding in this space, especially in how fans are beginning to interact with the sport. We are already seeing the integration of augmented reality stats overlays in stadiums and, automated commentary systems that instantly translate complex tactical shifts into accessible language.
The digital tracks are only going to become more prominent, for sure.
Absolutely.
We will leave it to you, the listener, to decide if these invisible mathematical frameworks ultimately enhance your experience of the sport or if they distract from its raw essence. Next time you watch a chaotic scramble in the penalty box, ask yourself, are you watching human instinct at work, or are you watching a mathematical equation waiting to be solved?